But it's clearly like only the outfits that were kept in the archive because it's just like silly costumes
Oh,
they
I didn't
wore.
get that far. I stopped.
It's none of like I'm saying, and it's so stupid.
Did they
like,
have they must have had the pants from the Thanksgiving episode, though, right?
No, it's not Thanksgiving. That's a different one. The leather pants is not Thanksgiving.
No, when he wears Phoebe's pregnancy pants to eat the turkey.
No, I'm saying like it's so stupid. It's the bridesmaids dress for Barry and Mindy's wedding, the holiday armadillo, when Ross dresses as a potato for a Halloween party, and Ross's leather pants. So it's like 3 Ross outfits and like a Rachel. Like it just doesn't make sense. Like it's so bad, and it's like Justin Bieber is modeling it, and you're like, how does this make any sense?
It's for the kids. Bieber's for the kids.
Here we are, and welcome to an average episode of the Friday Night Movie Podcast.
Average.
I think the problem is that if people have been listening to our recent ones, they think we're a much cooler pod than we actually are.
We've been on a run.
So cool. We got to ride the cool wave.
No.
We're so cool. We don't even want a guest today.
We are on such a run that we needed to just tap the brakes, bring people back to the family here. So if you're listening to this episode and by chance it's the first one, go back and listen to the last 4 or 5 because they were on fire. Today's is going to be average. And average is
today's is not average.
Can we just say it's going to be classic? Like it's not going to be. Let's change it from average to classic.
Sorry, not classic. This is going to be like classic Coke or the original McDonald's quarter pounder with cheese. Or what are some other classic things that you would think about?
That are
a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? Like when you get in your 40s, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, like, oh, just to eat that.
Or just like a good turkey sandwich. Like I don't need an aioli. I just need like just like a regular turkey
or
sandwich.
Maybe an In-N-Out burger, but not an animal style one. Just one of those amazing In-N-Out cheeseburgers.
Mm-hmm. I feel like everything's burger related for you right now.
I have burgers on the mind.
Are you craving a burger?
I mean,
Mom
Mom's
is
here.
visiting.
Do you guys have the new, like, there's a new Coke? Because you know me.
That is not news I follow. That is not news
I have not drank a cola flavored drink in.
Okay.
No, not true. Ollipops.
I didn't drink the cola flavor because I don't want the caffeine.
It has caffeine.
But I drank some Coca-Cola at like an event a few years ago when I was tired, like a concert.
Okay,
extremely delicious.
Okay, so listen, you know me. I seriously love. This is so nerdy, but like not just a decaf, a Diet Coke. I like a decaf Diet Coke because I don't want
that tastes like
Mom and Dad.
Like battery acid.
Right, that just tastes like literally like water with like bad tasting bubbles, and I don't even like bubbly water. But like I do love a Coke Zero. I think they really got it right with the Coke Zero. Now there's a new Coke Zero, and it says in Spanish "Nuevo Sabor," so it's like a new flavor on it.
It's sure it's not just leftover new Coke from the 80s that they've just finally arrived.
And I literally was like, oh, okay, I'll have one as like a treat. That is the first time I can full on say like, it was just like drinking melted metal.
That's what decaf Diet Coke tastes like.
But this was worse, if you can imagine. I'm just saying. Watch out for the Nuevo Sabor.
Okay, so today is a classic episode of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. And we're going to actually do something we don't usually do. We're going to talk about something really serious. We're going to talk about the culture of canceling TV shows before they should be canceled. So if you thought this was going to be an episode about cancel culture, it is not.
It is. No, it is. It's a different kind of
cancel culture. It's different.
Maybe the worst kind.
The
kind where you have invested your emotions, your heart, your soul, your time in a show.
Or I trusted you, like network streamer, you're saying, hey, trust me. And I go, yeah, I'm going to trust you. And then you break that trust, that bond, that pact that we made.
I think it's worse when it's a network show too, because we almost expect it from streaming now.
But in the old days, you expected streaming shows to just keep the shows on because they were quality, because no one really understands how a streaming show makes money. So they're like, we're just doing it for the art, but they're not even. They're just like, we'll put whatever's out there, and as long as we can get people to trick people into subscribing, we don't care.
Right. They just want the streaming. We all know the jig is up. Like, we know it's about just getting new people to subscribe for like the newest thing, and then they just need the next newest thing. But like for CBS or NBC or any of those are still kind of like those like a Ford car, like the old reliable. If you're going to put a show up like, and it makes it past pilot, and I'm willing to watch it, we expect you to commit.
Mm-hmm.
Give us an ending or an epilogue. It doesn't even need to be totally filled. Not every, actually, if anything, I don't love every loose end being tied up. Just tie up the main things.
Mm-hmm.
So in this culture of canceling, we're going to dive into some shows that were canceled. This got sparked by Becky being quite angry about a recent cancellation. So I want to give Becky the floor to rant. Then we're going to talk about some of the important canceled shows, and then we're going to play a new game that I created. I don't know what we should call it, but I have an idea of what we're going to call it. But first, handing the floor to Becky.
Okay, so about 13 weeks ago or so, I got really excited. It's like almost like exactly 13 weeks, like 13 weeks plus a few days.
Like after like a first trimester of pregnancy ago.
Yeah, that's how much time I spent on this. Because you're also like, the network is asking me to watch week to week.
So rough, dude.
So this is not a weekend of my life. This is 13 weeks of my life.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Because, listen, huge Jonathan Tucker fans on this pod. We love him from Kingdom. He's in a new show. It's a sci-fi show. It's a little dark. It's a little mysterious. And I'm going to be honest, like, I didn't think it was the most amazing show I'd ever seen, but I'm a huge fan of his, and I want to support the show, and I'm going to commit. And it is there's other shows that are like this. It kind of reminds me of like the slow drip of an Orphan Black, where they give you like one nugget of a detail every episode, and you have to watch every episode to like get the next nugget and the next nugget. And like this could be 5 seasons of like building to what the secret big truth is, right? And they're laying all the groundwork for all these little mysteries and who's plotting against whom. And like they spend 13 episodes doing that. And I watched every episode. I watched it once a week. I was all in. And now you're telling me, oh, goodbye. I'm ghosting you, Becky.
So is it canceled?
It's canceled.
Mid-season?
It's canceled. No. This was the first season. I think the first season was like 13 episodes. Was the first season. It's like I guess.
Wait, are no shows 22 episodes anymore?
No, like Grey's Anatomy still is.
They have no, but they have what they call like mid-season replacements. So they're shows that come on halfway through, and they get like 12 episodes.
And then maybe like the next season would be a full order.
Exactly.
And so, and you're and I'm telling you, like, season 1 just finished airing. You didn't even give people the chance to be like, oh, that show Debris. I'm going to go and I'm going to like binge it on Hulu. Because those networks, have other ways to watch it after. Right. And this is like the type of show that is really irritating to watch once a week, and that you should watch in like a big chunk because you're only getting like one tiny detail, whereas I feel like, for example, like a Cobra Kai, where like every episode is like you could just like watch that like once a week. Like you don't need to sit down and binge that all at once. But like this is the type of show that it really serves sitting down. So you're not even giving people a chance.
That is true. I will say I've been watching it, but I've been watching it in sections. So like a few episodes at a time, because it's confusing enough that waiting a week, I'm like, wait a minute.
And you'll forget because it's like a one tiny detail that you need to remember for the next.
I mean, if you're mad, think about how Jonathan Tucker feels.
Oh, because I've also been he's been doing podcasts and he's been promoting it, and I'm following it on Instagram, and he's saying what I'm saying. I'm saying what he's saying, which is that this is like a great show to sit down and binge. And what makes me so angry is that not only, what network is it, NBC? Not only have they look up what network it is, I'm not sure. They've broken my trust But I feel like it's even worse because it feels like they ghosted me because they're not even giving viewers a chance to like get to know the show. Give it a chance over the hiatus. People are going to get into it. It's going to be too hot to go outside this summer. They're going to sit around. They're going to binge something fun. It's going to be raining like today. Oh, they need to watch a new show. They're like, the last episode ran and then like 10 seconds later they canceled it.
A minute later.
Like literally 1 minute later. Next. And I'm sitting here being like, how dare you? It's
I wonder
like the
when he found out. Beck, you know about the biz. When do you think he found out?
No, that's not the kind of stuff I know.
I don't really know when people find out. He maybe knew.
So it just feels like they're leading. So clearly they knew before that last episode aired that they were just going to cancel it. They're like, oh, we're not giving this a chance. We're canceling it. And I'm like, what liars? I don't trust you. I'm not going to watch your shows now.
But like, I feel like, this is an issue overall, right? Like where people generally, like I've heard many people say to me, there's only one season of that so far. I'm not watching it. I'm going to wait to see.
No,
because I don't want to.
Yeah, but I don't.
Like I've heard people like, you know what I mean? Like, you're recommending this show. How many seasons? One season.
Well, no, I think it's because it's people in my position who are like, well, I don't want to like watch a season if there aren't like 3 or 4, because then they end up like me. But what really makes me angry, here you have Jonathan Tucker and the other, I don't know her name, the lead, they're doing all this stuff to promote the show, and they look like a bunch of dummies now because right out from under them,
I don't
the show's
think they look
being
like
canceled.
Dummies. I feel like they look like hardworking actors who are good team players.
No, I agree. That's what they look like, but that they're working hard, they care about the show, they're promoted, they're putting in the work, but it just also feels
he had to move his whole family to Vancouver to do that.
It feels disrespectful of the network to them to have them going out there championing the show, and then they're like, oh, we're just canceling it. We're not going to even give people a chance to watch it.
And we assume this is a purely numbers game.
How many when people watched live? Sign a term of service. I feel like, whatever the service policy, like if you do like sign up for Hulu, like, oh, there's like a privacy policy, a service. I feel like part of that should be that we get to write in, you will have closure on every show you put on. You put on the streaming service.
And I like that you use the term ghosted because there's actually a show with Adam Scott and Craig Robinson called Ghosted that they actually ghosted that. They even said like they'd say, oh no, we're reworking it to make it more of a work. We never got to see what happened.
And that was a gem. That show was a gem.
There was a lot they could have done with that show. Adam Scott and Craig Robinson fighting ghosts. That would have been great. Let's go down the list. Let's talk about another one. We did just interview Jackie Tone. So we got to talk about Glow because Glow did the thing where it was they were making the second season, then because of COVID,
this also sounds fake. This reason.
Well, I mean, whatever the reason is, I feel like if they were, I guess they didn't know, but I feel like all of those actors, you'd think they could get them back just to do, because Glow, the TV series, didn't last like an insane amount of time, right? Like the show about the show,
documentary. Nobody was expecting it to.
No, but they could have done. They could do like one more season that shows them or a few more episodes that show us where people ended up. Right? They don't have to be about wrestling per se, because really that show made that show great was the characters.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like they could, because they gave the excuse. Okay, so she had said not on our podcast, but she explained on another podcast that the show was reversed renewed. So I guess that's a nice way of saying canceled.
No, because it had been renewed for season 4, and then at the beginning of the pandemic, they said, actually, we're not going to shoot a season 4. So it's not worth it.
They just took it back.
Yeah. So which I don't understand. Why can't you just wait? Like everyone is shooting now. Everyone's shooting safely.
Right. How many shows have waited? How many films waited? Like Tom Cruise is literally sitting on like a boat in London waiting for his movie.
But like didn't like The Sopranos like that
for
show,
like a year and a half.
They had like one time like 18 months between shooting seasons.
Well, that's also true, is that sometimes shows just take a year or two off. The British shows do that all the time. They're like, okay,
with the writer's strike or something? Okay, wait. No. So they film. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Almost.
Okay. You can almost hear me?
Almost hear you. I can't tell if it's shaking your phone around or the internet where you are, but I can almost hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So they filmed 2.5 episodes of season 4. And then COVID hits, and they say that because it's too much contact between the girls, because it's wrestling, there's no way that they can film it. And they had the sets, the costumes, everything.
That to me is I don't know if that's really the reason. It could be it was extending for a long time. But my point is...
that's the reason she gave as an actor from the show.
That's the reason they gave. I think
that's the reason. That's their official statement. Whether that's the real reason, I don't know, because that sounds a bit silly. Then other shows start coming back. Their show still doesn't come back, and then it's never renewed again. And I think you make a great point, Shai, is that they could have reworked it to say, okay, fine, we don't need to show the wrestling parts. We can continue developing these.
Or let's just take a couple year break. Well, everybody will meet up here in whenever, which is not an easy thing to do, but there are British shows that do this all the time. They take a year or two off. I think
that cast would have been super willing. Like, you could just tell.
Right, like they'd find a way to do it. Like, they're all becoming bigger stars, but you'd think they could find a way to get, at least the core group back together. Anyways, so that's one where it's ridiculous. And I think Netflix is probably the biggest breacher of trust recently. They just drop things randomly.
Right, but like, that's what I'm saying is that, like, to me, Netflix is like... is already a little bit shady in that sense. Like, you don't really trust anything that it's like Lily said, they're just
like the Bitcoin of streaming.
They're just constantly churning stuff out just to like get you to sign up. But I feel like with the type of show that Debris was, and the number of episodes
don't sign
they
up
put
for that
in,
show.
No, what I'm saying is that, like, yeah, like the type of show that it is, the way that just like it's shot and written, the fact that there's 13 episodes, you feel like this is the type of show like they're going to give a few seasons to. But like, there's clearly some investment. It's like an NCI,
right? But also you have to understand. Yeah, but you also have to understand like how even more like tricky it is with that show, because it's made by the same people who made Fringe, which is a fantastic show where there are multiple seasons of. It's like, here you go, another Fringe gift for your network,
right?
And they just turn their back.
But Fringe was always Fringe was always hanging on. So
on the Fringe was on the Fringe.
But in the long run, I think it's clear that show is fantastic.
Yes, like in retrospect, absolutely, it's 1,000 times better than Lost, which was like by the same people. It's 1,000 times better than Lost. Okay, some other ones of late. There's the Beautician and the Baker.
The Baker, what is that? And the Beauty. So it's actually an Israeli show
Hallmark that's been. That Mom watched?
No, it's basically
with Fran Drescher
put it this
and
way,
the guy who played James Bond.
No, that's not what it is. The Baker and the Beauty. It's an Israeli show that was remade for like U.S. audiences. And let me tell you, this show is so cringe. Even Mom was like, Becky, I tried. Like, I love you and I tried, but like, I really couldn't get past 2 episodes. I watched the whole first season because I was like, all right, this is going to be like my fun, silly show with like very low stakes. But I got really into these different stories and I finished it and the classic thing.
Is this a reality show?
No, it's a scripted show. It's about so the American version. There's like it's based on an Israeli
pitch the show. Okay, I'm not going to pitch no one's going to watch it.
Anyways, but the point is that because it was on Netflix, this is what gets me. Okay, this is what gets me.
No one watched it, Becky.
Okay, but like literally no one watched it. Well, cousin Vanessa told me to watch it, so shout out to cousin Vanessa because that's why I watched it. So this is really her fault. What's the opposite of an "I told you" show? Like we're gonna take it away. So what drove me crazy about it is that this was a network show that Netflix is streaming. And only after I finished the whole first season and I Google when is season 2 coming out, it's like, Baker and the Beauty.
I always Google the name of the show I'm watching if I pick it up and the word. But
like, F you, Netflix, why are you even picking it up and putting it on your streaming service? It has one stupid season.
Right.
Like, you didn't even make it and you got me into this trouble. Like, if you made it and you only made 1 season, fine, that's my fault.
Because they're giving.
But they didn't even make it, and they put it on their streaming service.
Because someone out there is signing up to Netflix because they saw that this is on there.
I can't.
That's why.
And it's like not good, but it's so sweet.
All right, The Unicorn with Walton Goggins and Michaela Watkins and a whole bunch of other really great actors.
I love him. I don't even watch that show.
that premise. Well, I think that's probably what a lot of people felt is like. They're like, oh, Walton Goggins in a role where he's not the bad guy, and
or like complete like creepy.
Yeah, this is what a great idea.
Right. I just because I don't have time. But
Walton Goggins playing a straight man, and you're just like,
it was very sweet, and I guess I understand why it maybe didn't find an audience. I feel like there's been a few shows over the years that are focused around grief. There was one with Matthew Perry, I think, where he went to that grief where I just don't think that doesn't seem like those take off. But
whereas
this
I will
one
say
wasn't that focused around grief. And then there was didn't Jim Carrey do a show? Kidding, was that about grief?
Or no, but there was the Matthew Perry one. There was the Matthew Perry one, and then there's this one. Just ones that I think had like stacked casts.
And I do think that like I'm grateful, like a show like Dead to Me, which is about grief in a sense, or in a big sense, I guess, is getting at least a final season.
It's doing its final season.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the question of The Last Kingdom is not getting renewed. Was this shot as their final season? Or did they shoot it and then they're like, oh, we're not getting another one? I hope it's like...
I hope so. I mean, I will say the Last Kingdom, it's already getting pretty deep into the history such that I think, you know, like once you're outside of Alfred's life, I think you're missing a big pillar of what made the story great.
Yeah.
Of this version of the story. Not just of the way the show is built. Like you're missing some of the characters that really
made it. Yeah.
That really like made it. So I could see one more thing that kind of pushes us off into the next era, and then we say goodbye to the main character.
But I think Becky's point is important. Like if they know that it's not going to get renewed, I hope that they told them before they filmed that last season.
I mean, or maybe they filmed like an alternate ending or something.
Right. Not like Debris, where like clearly like they finished shooting and they're like, and you're canceled.
Please. I have to move on. I get really like the more I was like actually doing fine until we started this episode, and I'm very riled up. But I'm also having like an emotional moment because I was watching the season finale of Mighty Ducks. I only got halfway through. Oh my gosh, Shy. The scene when all the kids are throwing their hockey sticks down. I just started crying.
This is the new
full crying in my kitchen.
This is the new reboot.
Becky is so sensitive. Did you know that?
I'm only sensitive 2 days a month. It's when I'm PMSing. That's it. The rest of the time I'm fine. You live near me now, so you see me all the days of the month.
Becky cries every time anything happens. Every time anything happens in a show, Becky cries.
Yesterday and today, just cry. So no, yesterday I was really angry.
I recommend the new Mighty Ducks. Is it going to be canceled?
No.
I don't think it's going to be. I truly hope and I trust that Disney is taking a different approach, which is that they're going to put out less shows, but they're going to put out shows that they have like carefully vetted and are committing to. That's my hope.
And this is on Disney Plus?
Yeah, I'd say that's a quality streaming service.
Disney Plus, because it's a little bit different, I think, because they own those properties through and through. They're not contracting with like other studio. I mean, maybe other studios are actually like producing the content, but like Disney's like they're like the McDonald's. And I've really got McDonald's on my head.
Really?
They're like the McDonald's that also owns the beef farm.
Is that what we're doing for dinner?
The place that makes the cheese for the burgers, right?
Little secret drive-through tonight.
But also with these nostalgia properties, that you can do one season and have it end there, or you could do one season and have it end there, or you could go back and you could do another season. I think one thing that's working well with the Disney streaming shows is that they're almost like mini-series movies where, okay, maybe we could have another chapter or maybe not. Like, I'm interested to know where Mighty Ducks goes, but I'm not, and they don't resolve everything, but I also don't feel like if they don't, because they can't get Emilio Estevez back, you know, that they can't do it.
They got him back once, so why can't they get him back again?
I suspect his deal is something that will let him continue doing it but either way, I think Disney and like The Mandalorian, although peak Mandalorian was Mandalorian season what was that, season 2 or 3 that we just saw?
Only did 2.
Okay.
Are there 3 seasons? No, there's only 2.
No, they're making a 3rd season, but like, do you care if there's a 3rd season? Like, it ended, and
if Grogu's not in it, I don't care.
It ended, and if you never see it,
ended in such like an epic way that we're good.
Yeah, it's like a movie where it'd be nice to know what happens, but you also like, do you really care about the dark? I mean, some people care about the dark saber and Katie Sackhoff and all that, but like, no, like that's not like no one's watching for that. So there's a couple other shows recently I just want to shout out: Deadly Class, Crazy Head, and I think I'm the only person who watched
Crazy Head. I watched that too. Oh, what a disappointment when that was canceled.
I mean, Becky, it was canceled.
You and Shy have this weird...
It's like 4 years ago, right?
Weird...
long time ago.
...place where you guys meet in the middle for shows that
we watched Psych together today. It's just so
weird that I just feel like there's like this nice little, like, I don't know, area where the two of you cross over that is a very pleasant surprise for me.
I think it's more that Shy just watches a lot of stuff.
My Venn diagram is just bigger than most people.
Eventually everyone crosses over, like...
So what are some shows that you think redeem themselves over time? Like for me, Deadwood, it was like, this was a show where I was like, just watch it. It's amazing. But just so you know, it's going to end on a real down note and you're never going to know what happened. And then I think 10 years later, I think after David Milch like gambled everything,
I think it's like 15 years later.
They made a movie or a 2-hour, it was almost like a 2-hour finale movie epilogue, whatever. That was excellent. I thought it was great. I thought it was it captured all the things you needed to capture to say goodbye to the world of Deadwood. So that's one where I feel like it really redeemed itself. Veronica Mars is another one where it just drops at the end of this 3rd season, and they don't ever really, they just sort of like not ignore, but they kind of drop the fact that she was going to maybe go to the FBI. But both the movie and the season 4 are both excellent. So I really loved those. What are there any others where you feel like it was abrupt, but the ending was all right?
Well,
or the epilogue that you eventually got was good.
Well, I'll say this. I haven't gotten the epilogue yet, and I'm writing a lot of hope and mental health on the fact that there's promised a Perpetual Grace epilogue, because it can't end the way it ended. And so I loved it so much that I would still recommend it to people. But
it could end the way it ended. It does have this like.
It could, but there's that scene that it ends on is so juicy, and Steve Conrad can do it so well that I'm like, it's a crime against television or against, I don't know, art to not continue it. So I really am recommending that show based on the faith that I have that they will make the epilogue, which they've agreed to. So that's one.
Need to disagree with Shy, which is that while Veronica Mars redeemed itself, the ending of like the season 4 that was put out was so devastating to me. All I can think is that if you don't do another movie, you've broken my heart. If you don't do something to clean this up, you've broken my heart. I can't deal with this. So
that's fair.
It's pretty upsetting. I mean,
although I think people often forget how dark that show really was, and that
was pretty dark. But I just don't think like that's what I mean, this poor woman, she had so much trauma in her life. We have to do that.
I haven't seen it.
It was like a little Grey's Anatomy, the way that they ended it. I have to tell you,
I haven't seen it. So,
or at least Grey's Anatomy is like, at this point, they're like, all right, we can't actually kill everyone off. Some people just have to like leave in realistic ways, like relocate to a new city.
Supposed to, everybody dies getting
everybody.
I mean, like everyone. They're still gonna give us like a good kill once in a while, but like
by the way, last night, Becky and Dad were trying to explain to each other what a gallbladder was, and no one could really figure out what
Dad had his removed.
Yeah, but apparently everyone in our family has had theirs removed, like all the grandfathers.
We were trying to diagnose a pain that I have.
No one
has
trying to diagnose. I have one.
Mom thinks that the reason garlic makes me sick is because I need my gallbladder out.
Mom's just taking gallbladder.
Like, take it out. She literally said, just get your gallbladder out and you'll be fine. And I'm like, that seems like an extreme measure.
Mom's like, no, I have a tweezer.
You don't have to modify your cooking.
I have a tweezer. Just let me do it. I'll just lance it.
But I am wondering now, and I'm really curious to learn more about the gallbladder. So someone tweet at me.
And then another one for me is Ash vs. Evil Dead ended too soon, and it sort of like killed me. But the ending is actually really cool and consistent with the way Army of Darkness and other chapters of Evil Dead, meaning like it wraps up one part of the story and leaves something else open. And that's kind of how all of Evil Dead works. So in that sense, it was cool. Now I want to play a new game. Okay. New game premiering right now. I don't know if we'll ever play it again. It's called The Pit of Despair. And it is named after the scene in The Princess Bride when Wesley's strapped down and they are taking years off of his life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so here's what you have to do. You have to pick
That's what I feel like having kids is like.
Oh my God, that literally describes my morning. My morning was the pit of despair.
To be clear, Lily, I went over to Becky's house, took her kid away, and told her to go back to sleep, but then she just couldn't fall asleep. So it's not like
which is the literally the worst torture on.
While Vlad and my youngest slept in my bed until after 9 o'clock in the morning.
Or somebody else.
Dad and I are both like, we can both fall asleep anywhere, anytime. I can fall asleep anywhere, anytime. I can't.
Dad and I are like, you baby, like stop complaining. Get to
I was sleeping while watching your kids.
Yeah. Classic shy babysitting.
You know what? Sometimes you got to lower the expectation for the kids.
That's fine.
They want to do something, though, just say
there's
no.
6 adults in the house. On more than one occasion, someone will look around and be like, Becky, where are your kids? And no one knew.
I had all of them this time. Anyways, so you pick a show that you wish you had one more season of, but in order to get that one more season, you have to take a season off of a show you truly love. And you can't pick a show like Grey's Anatomy. It has more than enough extra seasons to go around.
I was going to.
That doesn't count.
Because this last season of Grey's Anatomy is horrendous.
Yeah.
So
because I can't even watch it. You can't do that. Like, I don't even think you can do Scrubs because Scrubs has like 3 seasons to spare after the 5th season that are just shouldn't be
right.
Watched.
Okay.
So it has to be a show that is for the most part really good. Because an obvious...
Does Friday Night Lights count where that show's amazing, but everybody knows season 2 is bad?
Oh, that's not a bad idea. I think that one's fair.
Because I would still watch season 2, even though it's not great. Like I don't want to remove it. No, I wouldn't want to remove it from the.
I mean, technically speaking, you have to take it off the end of the life of the show, but.
So it has to be the last season of the show?
I don't know. I'm making this game up. I mean, but that's the way it would work.
Oh, I see what you're saying, because you're sacrificing the cancellation / uncompleteness of a show.
Yeah. So like
that ending of Friday Night Lights is so good.
See, like for me, and this may be a cop out too, but for me, I'll give an example of one. The Office. If The Office ended in season 7 with the or even
that's
if
fine.
The Office ended without the Robert California season, I'm the only person who likes that season, but I would gladly have ended it at the end of that season and not had the horrible season that undid all of the characters' growth, the real final season. But that to me is, that to me doesn't necessarily work. But I'm talking about like something you like. Like, would you sacrifice or maybe, you know what, the show still gets to end, but it's just shorter. So is there a show like, I don't know, like for me, Parks and Rec, 7th season, amazing, but do you really care?
Oh my God, that was going to be mine. I was going to say I would.
I never watched it, so please do not tell me.
I would trade Parks and Rec's final season.
Oh, you would?
For one. Well, because part of me is, see, Parks and Rec could go either way for me. That show is so amazing. I never got sick of it. I would add on another season, but equally, I don't feel like there's that much change. Like I don't really remember what happened season to season because it's kind of just like similar shtick with some growth, right?
Yeah.
So I could like take one away and give me not a Deadwood movie, but like a Deadwood 4th season. Here's going to be mine. I'm going to take away one of the seasons or the last season, however it works, of The Wire and credit it towards one more season of Parks and Rec.
Wow. That was shows.
That's fair.
It's not that The Wire isn't amazing. It's amazing, and it's so smart the way it's done. And each season focuses on what was the last season about? Was that the one about like the press or policy? What was that one about? I'm like, see, everyone just remembers the season with the kids. That was the good one. Once you get past there, it's fine.
The education.
You could just credit those towards something else.
I'm gonna go and say that as much as I love this show, I could trade the last season of The Good Place for last season of Glow.
Ooh, that's bold.
Because good trade. I love The Good Place, but to me those episodes are a meld of like just awesome fun episodes, and like I don't need like Chidi to like leave, and you know what I mean, and that just leave Honey because the architect, like
very like deep. It's a very deep, heavy end. Like that show is very deep.
Right.
The ending is very deep.
And I didn't need. I like that it ended. I'd rather it ended than it was canceled, of course. And I'm sure it ended early because it was afraid to get canceled.
I'll tell you what.
I want that last season of Glow.
I don't need the upcoming season of Cobra Kai, and I'd like to put that towards a second season.
Whoa. They just announced what I have been calling for from the beginning.
What?
Which is the return of Karate Kid 3's villain, Terry Silver. I have been saying every time we've talked about Cobra Kai.
The last season was like
I feel like everybody that was in those movies, is coming back. Once you get Elizabeth Shue, unless they can literally resurrect Mr. Miyagi, everybody else.
So you think Hilary Swank is coming back?
What can we credit in order to just get like an Elizabeth Shue vehicle, just to get her starring in a show or like a show or a movie? I would like more Shue in my life.
But anyways, so no, I'm defending Cobra Kai season 4 because the story is not complete without the return.
It's not complete.
All the people that were in the original movies
because
coming
Terry
back.
Silver is like this evil millionaire. He's like the Krang to
what?
John Kreese's Shredder.
Oh.
He's like the Emperor to John Kreese's Darth Vader. He's like the one. He's not necessarily like the heart and soul of Cobra Kai, although he's part of it. He's like the one who enables it. He's the invisible hand behind the scene, and he's got an evil 90s ponytail. You have to watch. If you haven't seen Karate Kid 3,
I've seen it, but you
have to rewatch it before. Karate Kid 3 is the most like Cobra Kai.
Is that the one with like the nuclear waste or something?
Well, no, he's the evil Cobra Kai new dojo owner / old owner, the guy who gave John Kreese the money to start Cobra Kai. But his business is also dumping toxic waste. But that part of the story isn't really
such a 90s.
Like
toxic waste was like a really big deal in the 90s.
But that's his job. His job is just like telling people to dump toxic waste, and he lives in like a hot tub, like a marble hot tub, all the time with a giant cell phone. And then for me, I really wish we got a Stand Against Evil. It ends. You all didn't watch every episode of the show, but it ends on this like very, very intense cliffhanger where the main character sacrifices himself, and it flashes forward to Janet Varney's character in the future, being like an old lady and saying like, "Oh, there's more to the story." So it's like this very kind of heavy cliffhanger ending, and I love that show so much. And I think more people would be able to go back and revisit it if you knew that there was an extra season. You know what show I'll shave a season off of a show I really loved? I will shave the 4th season off of Banshee, because Banshee seasons 1, 2,
no problem, because no one else has seen it.
No, I don't.
Lily.
Oh, Lily.
I don't agree, because I reckon my internet's fine.
It's so bad, and you're just waving your phone around.
Wait, is Banshee a good show? Should I watch it?
Banshee's a fantastic show.
It's complete. So this is like a new form. I only want Rex in the form of complete shows.
Banshee is
Wait, can you guys hear me again?
Recommended to me 5 years from now when it's
the conversation continued. We'll come back to you, Lily. Oh no, she's gone.
No, I'm here. I just took off my video because
so Banshee is a complete show. Seasons 1, 2, and 3 finish a certain amount of story. Like it's like finished 1, 2, and 3, and then there's a time jump to season 4, and then season 4 is like this open and shut season.
I know what I want.
So and season 4 is cool, but it's not as cool as all the villains in season 4 are terrifying. But it's not as cool as the overall overarching story of season 1, 2, and 3. But Banshee is an awesome show, and it stars Anthony Starr from The Boys.
But I don't think you could recommend wholeheartedly Banshee to anyone if it didn't have an ending, at the very least.
No, I'm both recommending it to Becky because in real life it has an ending. But I'm just saying, if I have to make a tough sacrifice, I would sacrifice Banshee season 4 to have a 4th season of Stand Against Evil.
Okay. I will say this, if you can hear me. I'm very surprised that a show like You're the Worst got an ending, and yet I still can't recommend it to people. Because I'm like,
really?
Because I just feel like it's such a, maybe because I watched it during a really tough, dark period of my life.
But it helped you through that period.
It did, but then I'm like, I can't really gauge if other people will like it.
I think that show's genius, and that last season and that finale has.
I think the finale is amazing.
Puts you through a lot of stress until you get to the end of that finale, and then you're like, oh, thank goodness.
Okay, I got it. Okay, I will take final because I actually want a credit for 2 seasons. So I'm going to take a season of Friends and a season of Seinfeld.
I thought a season of Friends, but that's too easy. I feel like that's too easy.
I mean, if you take the final season and then Monica and Chandler never have a baby and Ross and Rachel never get together, and
you're willing to do that?
When
you're willing to do that?
I'm willing to sacrifice a lot to never have to see Joey and Rachel be together.
So I'm just saying, I would take.
But then you sacrifice the episode in the Caribbean with Monica's hair.
Oh, really?
Which I have thought extensively
We got to keep that. Okay.
I was going to lead with that.
Okay, then you guys help me out. If I want to get not 1, but I want 2 more seasons of Firefly, where am I stealing them from? Because I feel like that's really hard.
Now I'm feeling bad about Banshee, and I'm giving Banshee its 4th season back. Now I'm feeling bad about Banshee, and I'm giving Banshee.
Who am I taking a season away from? I needed 2 seasons I can take away because I want 2 more seasons of Firefly.
You want 2? Why do you need 2? They had a whole movie. Don't you feel like
the movie?
You worry if
the show. I feel like the show is better than the movie for me, and I would take
kill Alan Tudyk in the movie.
Right,
Who
so
wants
I'm
to
saying
watch a show where Alan Tudyk
get rid of the movie and instead give me 2 seasons of Firefly.
Do you know that I assume that he was
not
British
post-movie, so Alan Tudyk
because of The Knight's Tale.
I 100% thought he was British because of a Knight's Tale.
I have no idea who is and is not British. So
I would say,
but I often was like, wow, he does an amazing American accent.
Here's an easy one, Beck. This is tough, though, because it does mean you don't find out the ending of this show. But I'm going to say take off 2 seasons of Game of Thrones.
Oh, Game of Thrones, who cares?
2 year, like when you get to the, I didn't mind the 8th season. I think the first half or whatever that last season was, I liked the first half of it a lot. The one that leads up to the Battle of the Night King, and then they had to wrap everything up in like 4 episodes. That's a time where like I'm like, they should have just ended it when they killed the Night King and just let us all guess what happened next. Like
for sure.
But I think that everything after the Battle of the Bastards. There, whatever that season was, like it just never got better again.
There you go, Beck. 2 Game of Thrones,
and that's big because you're going to live with a cliffhanger.
Wouldn't you delete the Firefly movie for 2 more seasons of that show and have like a 3-season little capsule of a fun cowboy space show starring Nathan Fillion? Like you go back to that anytime.
Yes, but now it's so far away from it. Like I wonder if it's been romanticized too much.
I'll let you know one day when I watch it.
It's still awesome. It's still awesome, but I see what you're saying, Beck. All right, let's now go to some shout outs and Rex. Lily, what are you watching?
I not watching much. I'm packing up and getting ready to venture towards the other continent. The United States.
The other one, there's more than one other continent.
The other one in my life that's important to me. The other continent that is important to me. So I am quite busy, but we've been watching this like supernatural show on HBO, the Spanish show. So I don't know, like whoever's into like supernatural stuff and like, exorcisms and that kind of thing. This show called 30 Coins on HBO. It's not bad. In that vein of like horror, but not like too scary. Been watching that.
Doesn't it all like freak you out that like the 30 pieces of coins is a reference to the 30 pieces of silver that Judas was given?
Given
to betray Jesus, and then that sort of like
killed him, and
sometimes that's sort of like used in anti-Semitic like.
It's a Spanish show. What did you expect?
I mean, I did at first, especially like the opening credits have Judas hanging himself at the very end of the opening credits, and it's pretty gory, but I got over it pretty quickly.
But the 30 coins aren't like 30 coins that like the Jews used.
Well, this evil Catholic Satanistic cabal, I feel like it really leans on so it's like not making those guys look that good either. They have to collect the 30 coins to like have the utmost power, and they're trying to get all of them, like Pokemons or whatever, right? Okay. Catholic Pokemons. So that's kind of what it is. But yeah, so that's what we've been watching like as a family. And we watched, I don't know if people are into like, did you the movie The Cube, right? There's like this like,
I've always wanted to watch those.
Right, like a Spanish horror genre that is dark and interesting, not just scary. And this movie's not that scary, but it definitely is like thought-provoking. And it's called I think it's called The Hole, which is in Spanish is El Hoyo, Hoyo. And it's a new movie. And it's about a prison system where two people per floor, and food gets brought down from the first floor all the way down to the bottom. But it gets eaten as it goes through. And supposedly if everybody ate the right amount, then everybody had enough food, but it never makes it to the bottom. And every month you get switched to a different floor. And it's just sort of like this, obviously comment on society or whatever. And it's about this guy in the prison. No, it's a movie. Ugh. I just think it's like we might have audience members that are interested. Well, it's not. I mean, it's not that gross, but it's like an interest. It's thought provoking, and I feel like in case anybody in our audience is more into like that, then psych. Well, I'm providing the Spanish thought provoking thriller horror genre for people.
You do love a horror.
It's genre. I've had my in-laws here. That's all we watch: Spanish horror movies. So there you go. Next, Becky.
I mean, I spent most of this show talking about what I was watching, which was Debris, and being mad about it, and now I can't even recommend it. So I literally have nothing for you because I've mostly just been pretty mad.
Wasting your time.
Although,
precious time.
Shout out to last week, in preparation for our Jackie Tone app, I rewatched a bunch of her stuff, so... Like, if you can handle the disappointment.
Just go into IMDb.
If you can handle the disappointment of not knowing how Glow ends, go watch that.
Well, Glow should be watched even if you don't know that.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, I don't, it's not that you don't know how it ends. A big chapter ends in the show.
Yeah.
But you don't really find out how the characters' arcs get resolved. But so you should go back and watch Glow because it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as me, I am like sort of in that middle zone between things. Right now, we finished the Sinner.
How did you like this? How did you like it?
I liked it. It's definitely the weakest of the 3 seasons, and it changes the format. But I think that's okay. I think Bill Pullman's performance is really good. The real problem with that season, more than the other seasons, is the motivation of the main villainous character is really hard to buy. Right. It's like really hard to buy, and maybe that's because I'm not a sociopath, but like we like at a certain point we're like, what is so compelling about this death cult that this guy is involved in, and is it a chicken or the egg thing? Like, was he already crazy, or was it that he was pulled into this? It's really hard to tell, and because of that, it's just a little bit murky. But Bill Pullman is awesome in it. It moved pretty quickly, but it didn't have the same tension of finding out different. The other two seasons are about finding out the why the murder happened. This one, they sort of tell you the why right away, so then you're really just doing this like character study, and I guess there's some ambiguity as to like how bad the bad guy is, but he's bad. Matt Bomer's great as a serial killer.
I know.
You love
Makes
Matt
you think,
Bomer,
like,
Lil. You're like,
I do. I can vouch for the fact that he's even good in like a very bad villain role. So
he was good. So I would say I want to see a fourth. I'd keep watching The Sinner all the time. It was like a fun.
The first season was so hard for me to get through. Like, I don't know how I could keep watching that by myself. Like, you know what? I do not like serial killer. I stopped watching Mindhunter. I can't do like.
You're gonna watch the new season of Dexter?
I stopped watching.
I never finished watching the actual show because
that's the worst.
In one of like the last
history of
I think in the season that Colin Hanks was in, at the end of that, there's this moment where Deb says to her, realizes with her therapist that she's in love with Dexter. And when that happened, I was like, nope, done with the show, and I never watched another episode.
Is that like his sister's in love with him?
Yeah, it's his sister. And I was like, and she's like in love with him in like an incestuous way. And I was like, you know what? I never need to watch another episode.
He is adopted, yes.
But this show has just gone to a place where
that's where it started to jump the shark.
Yeah, and then I never finished it. But I would potentially go back and watch the new season. And I also skipped the Jimmy Smith season because I didn't like that one. So I was a little patchy with it anyway. I do that. You guys know that.
I should have traded the seasons for Dexter, it sounds like.
But I thought we had to trade seasons of like a show that we love.
That's a show that you love, that you like. Or that you
so like, there's a lot of shows. Like, I mean, replace Virgin River with like anything for me at this point. But it's so. Listen,
Mom
I'm not yucking.
Mom loves.
I'm not yucking someone's yum. I love that there's an audience for that show. But is it fair that they get 3 seasons? And what am I stuck with?
I will say this: when Mom was here living with me, she watched this like Netflix show that was made for her algorithm called Sweet Magnolias. Or something about these like 3 Southern women who like start a spa or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. No,
it's
they took like the titles of Steel Magnolias and Sweet Home Alabama,
Sweet Alabama,
and put them into one.
Right.
So they basically,
and so it ends on a cliffhanger. I believe it ends on a cliffhanger, that one. And Mom was like so upset because she's like, I bet it's not getting renewed. There's COVID. I'm never going to see this show again. I'll never know what happens to these characters. And I was like, look, lady, we're in a pandemic. I'm really sorry. It entertained you for a few nights. That's good enough. And I just read that it was renewed, and I was so happy for her. But then I was also like, how is that piece of shit renewed?
I bet that show didn't cost a lot to make.
I bet it didn't.
I think Debris costs a lot to make for what it is, because they
that I think is
there's like a lot of effects in it.
I think that's a factor in Debris, which is the price of it. But I hope Jonathan Tucker gets another show soon, because he's amazing.
Yeah, I love him.
Love him. Huge fan.
He's amazing.
Rooting for Jonathan Tucker for sure.
Well, with that, Becky, where can people follow you?
Follow me on Twitter at PaperBKPrincess and follow all of my retweets. In case you're not following Friday Night Movie or Shy, you can follow me and I'll just retweet what they're tweeting. It's great content.
And Lily, how about you?
You can follow me at Chichi, ChiChik Gomez on Twitter. And I do tweet, so there.
And you can follow me at Pancake, the number 4 table, Pancake 4 table on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow all of the Friday Night Movie shenanigans at Friday Night Movie on Twitter and Instagram, or FridayNightMoviePod.com. Rate, review us, do those things. It's the cheapest way to help. We don't have other ways to support us. So really, just rate and review us on
and subscribe.
And subscribe. That's a great way to help out the podcast. Please check out the NAACP Legal Defense Fund and the Equal Justice Initiative, as well as the American Asian Journalists Association. Those are organizations that we're supporting. And then the theme music by What Does It Eat will kick in, and we'll dance our way into the afternoon. Bye, guys.
Bye. Love you guys. Bye.
I have an idea of how we can upgrade this game in the future.
Okay.
You create like 2 columns in the show notes. One is like the shows that have been shortchanged that don't have enough seasons. And then the other column are like classic shows. Like it could be, you know, like I was saying, like The Wire, Sopranos, like whatever it is, these like amazing shows that are like complete Parks and Rec, and you have to pick which of their final seasons you're going to steal to credit.
Or you could do it with movies too, like take an hour off of a movie.
Right. You know, but I think like to get it organized in advance, and it's kind of like you do it like a buy, rent, and you can even play it with
all right, like here are the shows you have to choose from.
You have to steal like the final season from one of these 3.
We'll evolve the Pit of Despair for the future.
Right.